And welcome into the Sports Shuffle. I am Flying Ryan Gilchrist along with.
Tampa Motor Mouth, Joel Verlin, and we're starting off the Sports Shuffle with a bit of a downer, but it's a story definitely that's been in the eye of the media, unfortunately, and you know where I'm going with this one, Ryan. So, yeah, because when you have a football game start with a moment of silence for Marshawn Nealon, who, of course, as we knew, this is not this story is not going to have a happy ending, and pretty much right when you found out it was gunshot, self-inflicted suicide. Yeah.
Yeah, Marshawn Nealon, 24 years old, just scored the special teams touchdowns for the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. I actually knew somebody at that game. I'm going to Washington this weekend to see a football game. They said it was he. They saw him score directly in front of the end zone, and kind of hit him a little differently because he saw the person alive and well. Just 48 hours later, he was gone. A lot of details of the story I think need to come out still. I did see something about how he struggled after his mother passed a couple years ago. So maybe there's some lingering mental strain from that. But long story short, gone way too soon. A definite tragedy. Of course, there will be more that comes out of this. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things where you see anytime you hear anybody under the age of like 80, 85 pass away, there's some sadness to it. But when it's someone in their 20s, an athlete, for something like a self-inflicted gunshot wound, you think there's got to be something behind the scenes that's going on that you don't understand. And it just reminds us all to take a minute, be grateful for what we have, be grateful for who you are and where your mindset is if it's in a good way, and understand that you never know the person on the other end of the conversation what they're actually going through. So try and be kind, be respectful, and tell them that they matter, because sometimes people need to hear those kind of things.
And one of the crazy things to come out of this is that you had Giants kicker Graham Gano end up saying on the Fans and Sports Betting quote, "Ever since sports betting started, I get people telling me to kill myself every week because
Yeah.
I'll hit a kick that loses the money, or I'll miss a kick and it loses the money. The other day, somebody actually told me to get cancer and die, and that's like, yeah."
Yeah, the keyboard warrior mentality of, oh, no one knows who I am behind the keyboard. Society's trying to weed that out. You've seen more people get fired for their interactions online when they do stuff like that, get cancer and die, or go kill yourself to an athlete because he didn't kick the ball where you wanted him to kick the ball.
Not
People
cool.
like that, you're not welcome in sports anymore, is my opinion. If
A
you want to,
game. These people, it's their livelihoods. They're out there trying their damnedest every single game, even if they're on the Titans or they're on the Saints or the Giants,
oh,
and you just don't have a lot of expectation. It's tough. I mean, because they're at the pinnacle. They're at the place where you tend to think, right, where Marshawn was. He was at the top of the NFL, right there. Not college, not semi-pro, not one of these leagues that pops up every once in a while, but literally at the top, at a team in the NFL
yeah.
with a girlfriend, soon to become wife, we would imagine, expecting a kid. So she's not only a widow, you're going to have a
Yeah, single
young
mother.
youngin who's going to be instantly, not without a
Affected.
father.
Yeah, permanently affected right from the rip. Yeah, unfortunately, we need to understand that we can't be garbage people just because athletes have a bad day. I know it's not the point. The tragedy that Marcus Nealon's passing is the point of this conversation. But yeah, if you are going to be wagering and take it personal when you lose, go find something else to do.
Yeah, because you
Set the
have
money on fire and watch it burn if you have to. Or better yet, if you're going to tell people to get cancer and die, or kill themselves, you try it first and you tell them how it went. Because if
Yeah,
that's your mentality, I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for you.
because you have enough of that in online gaming when you just want to hop on, have some PvP fun, and you have people who take the game way too seriously. You have people who take sports betting, and hopefully not somebody who's spending their rent money and doing
A
things.
lot of the people that have that negative reaction are the ones that are betting money they don't have.
Bet
The thing
what
is
you
that
can lose.
I'm
Bet what you
lucky.
can lose.
I'm lucky. I'm in a position where I can bet if I want to. I'm not a big gambler. I don't like gambling on things I can't control. You want to get me in a game of cards where I can make decisions? Sure, I'm all game. But betting on how many catches Jalen Waddle is going to get in the Dolphins game, I have zero control over that.
How
So
many yards either the Broncos or the Raiders are going to get last night? Oh my good lord!
it's one of those things. If I don't have control over it, it's not something I'm going to bet on and take personally if I lose.
Yeah, 'cause
And I'm not going to bet anything I can't afford to lose. So that means my biggest bets ever, maybe $20. Like I'm not losing $500 that I need for groceries this month or whatever it is. Like be smart. I know we've kind of lost the topic of Marcus Nealon on this topic, but it is. I don't know. Again, this may be something that it comes up. He is a member of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure social media pressure was a thing, even though he was more of a special teamer and a substitute kind of guy on that team. But we went out with a touchdown in his last game, and it'll be interesting to see the tributes this weekend. I believe every team in the NFL is going to have one, and I'm unfortunately going to be seeing one in person. Obviously, we would rather not have the tribute in general, but it's going to
amen.
be
Here, here.
a solemn tribute from a team in division going to Washington. They're in Dallas's division, so it'll be interesting to see how that is. My final thoughts going to go more into some interesting things about that game. But yeah, RIP to Mr. Nealand, and best wishes to his family and friends and former teammates at this point.
Marshawn Leland gone way too soon. There's no real easy for to way to transition out of that to somewhere else. But we'll go to something a little bit lighter before the next story because that one is just even more crazier.
Honestly, I almost think you go to the AB update and just let's
Okay,
get the negativity out of the way early.
okay, yeah, we'll talk about Jaden Daniels during the game or preview, but yeah, AB back as all of a sudden it's like, okay, he's coming back to America. He's being extradited from America. And you were like, no, 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 no. This is a new attempted murder.
Yeah, he's being extradited from Dubai back to the United States on attempted murder charges. He also had attempted murder charges a few months back from a shooting outside of a mall, I believe it was, late at night, probably alcohol involved,
Yeah, it was
whatever.
some kind of weird boxing match or
Yeah,
something.
it was a weird situation where I guarantee
Weird,
alcohol was
weird in AB.
involved.
It's just he just draws weird in like magnet.
At this point, AB just needs to be put in a little padded room and be done with it. Um, he is out of his mind. I don't care about AB, Antonio Brown, but at this point, he is. We need to test his brain. So whenever he does pass, we need to test the brain because that's going to be a CTE case that we need to find out.
Yeah, you had Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco talking about AB emotionally. That Sharp said, I don't think AB knew how special he was, Ocho replied. It hurt to see it come to this point. Maybe this is something he might need to come home, back home. You know, I'm here for him. It just that it rhymes with hit. Hurt and yeah, just when people are just talking about AB, you still remember. You still remember how he left the NFL and the Bucks,
Yeah.
stripping everything off in the middle of the flipping third quarter, and the Jets throwing his articles to the fans and going around the stadium. Everyone just going, "What is going on?"
Going
And
down
then he's gone, and he somehow became a co-owner of an arena football league team
they didn't pay.
and managed to run it into the ground so bad that the team lost its membership to the league. I mean, it's just one thing after another, one reality show disaster after another. There's a whole moving van incident, then he got
Multiple
arrested.
accounts of abuse and domestic issues, and
Oh my lord, yeah.
yeah, he is a bad apple at this point. It's not someone you would not want to deal with on a one-on-one basis. I don't think at this point. Again, innocent until proven guilty is a thing in this country for a reason. So we'll have to see what happens with his extradition, with his trial that should be upcoming. And hey, maybe it is just a simple wrong place at the wrong time on this one. Crazy Antonio Brown near a situation gets blamed for it. I don't pretend to know all the details
And
yet, but with the past history, it's not necessarily the best look.
yeah, and then of course another story is something a little bit more normal. Well, I'm not sure what normal is these days, but something more normal. How about the fact that Dayball Flynn was about to almost get fired after the Denver game, but cooler heads prevailed. Probably Morrow was hot headed, wanted him gone. Probably had the GM sort of tell him to chill out, but he's on a short leash.
It's weird because he is, but this team feels like it's going in the right direction overall. The bad loss to Denver, losing a 19-0 lead going into the fourth quarter, losing that game very, very late, giving up just 33 points in the fourth quarter in general. That is something when you're a struggling team is considered a fireable.
Dribbling.
Yeah, it's not great. But I think with Jackson Dart, with Cam Scadaboo, with Malik Neighbors, this team has a bright future. And if the guys that are there are still buying in and fighting for Brian Dable, which
It's
they
hard to
are,
win when you don't have the weapons.
yeah, it's one of those teams. This is not a complete team yet. This is not a team that's ready to go and take that next step. They have the toughest schedule in the NFL. If they're still fighting for the head coach, I don't think you get rid of them. That's one of the arguments people are making for Mike McDaniel in Miami, that the team is still putting on a fight every week. You could argue they're not, but with Brian Dable, it seems like the Giants are a lot close. I mean, they lost games to Denver. They've lost games to San Francisco in relatively close fashion. They beat the Eagles badly. I mean, they've had some good performances. It's a very young team. The core is still developing, and now the core has two of their biggest people out on the offensive side. It's good that cooler heads prevailed. I don't think it's going to save Brian Dable as a head coach. I don't think he is
I
the
don't
problem there
think
by any
this
stretch.
season is all his fault, though.
No, when you lose Malik Neighbors because your turf is garbage and it chews up knees, that doesn't help. When Cam Scadaboo's ankle pops out of its socket and you have to get it surgically repaired, and he was top 10 in fantasy, even though he didn't play the first week and a half, really, you're missing a lot of good pieces. You have got Jackson Dart looking like a great future franchise quarterback. I almost think with a quarterback like Jackson Dart, you want to keep everything together and let him properly grow into the system. You don't want to get in this pattern like the Bears did. We got our quarterback. Well, now we're going to fire the coach, and now he's going to learn a new system. You saw it fail with all the quarterbacks before Caleb Williams. We'll see what happens with the Bears and Caleb Williams, but it's not a good situation to get into. So good. I think it's a good right thing to keep him on staff for at least the rest of the year. I think he probably can earn his spot again, though, as a head coach.
And I know you said you didn't want to talk about Tua, but what we will talk about is a quote that Rich Eisen said. And are you drinking the Kool Aid on this one? That Tua has never had a losing season. I think he has a losing season this year.
No, oh, he will. I mean, he's been the quarterback every game this season. They're already 2-7. If they go and finish the season with one loss the rest of the way or less, then more power to him. I don't see it happening.
Shall we go to the game that I'm sorry if you had to watch the entire thing because I kind of gave up after the first quarter because last night was pretty hard. And then I was listening to the uh, part of the Grossi Perna cast of
It
the
was.
game, and oh my good lord, what because just this been from DraftKings, and this was originally heard through Bill Smith NFL, and you had Broncos on Thursday Night Football. Ryan, 11 penalties, 10 first downs. Raiders on Thursday Night Football, 11 penalties, 10 first down. Thursday Night Football gave us just the second game in 75 years where both teams had more penalties than first down through four quarters of action, and the first such game since 1960. 1976. How much in the game did you watch?
I watched all of it.
Oh my God, you need to be given an award.
I regret some of it. Also, one of the few games where there was more combined penalty yards than either quarterback had individual passing yards. It was ugly. There's no other way to say it. The Broncos didn't get a first down until the
They,
middle of
they
the
should.
second quarter. The Raiders went a good full 2 quarters without a first down from the early second to the early fourth. Just a disaster.
He should be called Boo Nix, not Bo Nix after this week.
Yeah, he was awful. We'll talk about the stats here in a second. It was a 10-7 Broncos win. Geno
I
Smith.
started him instead of Sam Darnold this week. I am so not happy.
Yeah, I did that. I didn't start Geno. I started Bo Nix over Matthew Stafford, and I'm regretting that one too.
So you had a similar.
At least Bo Nix had a touchdown pass to make it less terrible, but yeah, it wasn't good. Geno Smith, 16 to 26, 143 yards and an interception. Ashton Jeanty, 19 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown, just over 3 yards a carry average. This may be a Raiders problem, but he just does not look good. Brock Bowers, 1 catch for 31 yards. So if you were playing against him in fantasy, you got everything you could have hoped for out of Brock Bowers, which is absolutely nothing. If you play him in fantasy and he's on your roster, sorry, not a great night for you. Tyler Lockett, the leading receiver of the game, of the entire game, 5 catches for 44 yards.
This entire game was just one giant. You get nothing, you lose. Good day, sir.
Bo Nix, 16 and 28 for 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks, one of which definitely not his fault, but it was still an interception. Courtland Sutton threw a pass. Or he was going to throw a pass, it looks like. He got sacked, technically. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins, 18 carries for 77 yards, also has a foot injury coming out of this game, being evaluated for whatever that way may be. So if you have an R.J. Harvey share, this could be something that works out for you later. 4 carries for 9 yards for R.J. Harvey, though, so not great there. He did get 2 catches for 9 yards through the air. So if you were desperate to have to play him this week after a couple good weeks, well, that went badly too. Leading receiver for the Broncos was Pat Bryant. 1 catch for 43 yards. Troy Franklin, who did have the drop that led to the interception, did have 5 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. He was about the only player.
Courtland Sutton had wah.
Yeah, Troy Franklin, about the only fantasy-worthy player in this game. Ashton Jeanty was fine, too. Courtland Sutton, though, 3 catches for 24 yards and took a sack. So if you are in a league where you have sacks, count against you. That's unfortunate. 6 sacks for the Broncos, a big night, and I think the play of the game was the interception by Tillman, a defensive linebacker or a lineman. He had the best run of the game, and he's on defense after an interception off the hands of Ashton Jeanty.
Bo Nix has said, quote, "I've been booed before, and I'll be booed again."
That's got some Tua vibes on it, and I don't love it. But the Broncos do get a win. They moved to 8-2. They are now a game and a half clear of the Chargers in the division, and 2.5 clear of the Chiefs in the division. So whether it was good to watch or not, there was some heavy wind in this one. Maybe that threw a wrench into some things. The Broncos got the job done. The Raiders fall to 2-7.
Before we get to the rest of our nose pickings, are you ready for the odds of making the fantasy playoffs per Yahoo Fantasy Football 2024 results?
And this is just a generalization with the current records. Okay. This is not 100% for everybody in your league. You can have leagues where you're 3-6 and the percentages are higher. You have leagues where you're 6-3 and the percentages are lower. Go ahead.
0-1 wins 3.1%. 2-3 wins 13.5. 4-5 53.8. 6-7 90.6, and 8-9 99.1.
Yeah, you definitely want to be in that 6 to 9 win range right now. If you are in that position, you've got 5 weeks left. Most leagues in week 14, you're looking 8-9 wins will guarantee you a playoff spot. So you're getting pretty close. But if you are at that 8-9 win, it's really championship or bust for you. Again, those are not 100%. League format matters. Do you have 4 teams in, 6 teams in, or like our 16 teamer, you have half the league in an 8? A 4-5 team there has a much better chance than a 4-5 team in a league where only 4 teams get in. So percentages being what they are, Not the end of the story for anybody, but if you are winless, it's getting pretty dark for you.
And we do have a 9:30 in the morning game this week. Oh no.
Yeah. The good news about it is it looks like it could be one of the better ones that we usually get. It is Atlanta and Indianapolis in Germany. It's a 9:30 start. I, I guess that's a good thing for those of you who enjoy watching 9:30 football. I know being on a football trip with four of the guys, we'll have this on in one of the hotel rooms or somewhere to make sure we're watching this game. All of us fantasy degenerates. It is Atlanta. It is Indianapolis. Atlanta. Drake London is a must start, and Bijan Robinson is as well. The Colts tend to give up some points. They did last week to the Steelers. So Michael Penix and Kyle Pitts are in contention as well. For the Colts, Jonathan Taylor in your lineup, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, and Tyler Warren also in your lineup. And then Daniel Jones has been too good, even with a bad game last week. You know, every team has a bad performance. This was definitely one for the Colts. 6 turnovers. I don't expect that to repeat itself. Atlanta, though, could, we don't know which Atlanta team is going to show up, and that's what makes this pick so difficult. So, Joe, I'll let you make the first one, and if you want to give us a line on it, too.
Line for this game happens to be Indianapolis Colts the favorites. Not much of a shock there. Minus 6.5. $3.10 favorites and over and under 48.5. Yeah, I've got to go with the odds because I know you have some confidence in the Falcons, but like you said, you never know which freaking Falcons team show up. The good Falcons that all of a sudden look that beat the Bills, or the Falcons team that's expert in falconing. And even after the Colts hiccup last week, I've got to pick the Indianapolis Colts and bum 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 bum.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Colts as well. I'm just going to take the team I think is better top to bottom. Really, these international games can get a little wonky. They tend to be a little bit lower scoring, which means the Falcons should stay in
Can't be
contention.
much more lower scoring than the last time, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, but it just seems to me that Atlanta is too inconsistent to count on. Indianapolis really only had one bad game all season. I think they get right this week and they get the win over Atlanta. Next up, New Orleans at Carolina. Joel, you got a line for us?
That would be the Carolina Panthers are the favorites somehow, even with the question of Ted McMillan being pulled from practice, and you got talk of a hammy, Ryan. Oh boy, gotta watch and pay attention to that one as minus 5.5, $2.50 favorites, and an over and under of just 38.5. So they're trying to figure out no Tet and they're kind of wondering what's going to go on now that Rashid Shaheed has packed up and moved out of New Orleans. Who else other than Olave is going to be in the offense? Even Alvin Kamara is a bit banged up. So, yeah, as much back and forth as you might be tempted to pick the Saints here, I still got to pick the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Panthers for this game. You said it. Olave is really the only great option. Juwan Johnson at tight end, just fine for the Saints as well. And then Alvin Kamara, if you're really desperate, he's had 2 very tough matchups in a row. He hasn't been great,
For the last
but
3 games, not a whole much of a lot of fantasy goodness.
you have the Bucks and the Rams, who are 2 of the top run defense in the league. You are still the Saints. Carolina, while their defense has been better than expected, is still not a top unit in the league. So you've got those as options. For Carolina, we got to see what happens with Ted McMillan. If he does not play, someone like Xavier Leggett maybe is worth a dart throw, but it's really Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle is the only surefire start for the Panthers as well. But we're both taking Carolina here for sure.
Dave Canales on the McMillan hamstring issue. Quote, something popped up in practice, so we shut him down for part of it. He was able to take a few reps, but precautionary, and we'll look at him again tomorrow morning to make sure he's ready to go. Some concern, so we'll look tomorrow and see where he's at. So you got to look at going forward and seeing what develops there.
Yeah, hamstrings are a very tricky injury, especially for a wide receiver with the big long strides. You don't see them as much with running backs because they're a little more quick, shifty, not in stride. But wide receivers, you got to make sure this is good. If it doesn't get worse or doesn't linger into tomorrow, he'll be fine. But that's why they got to check tomorrow because it could just be a little tweak. Oh, I got a little discount. Oh, it went away. It could be. He's a young enough guy where you can bounce back from that very, very quickly. But if he's not right tomorrow, expect him to possibly miss the game as well. All right, next up, the Giants go to Chicago to face the Bears. Um,
Ready for the line?
yeah, let's do the line here.
And your favorites are, not surprising, the Bears minus 4.5, $2.20 favorites, and over and under 47.5.
Yeah, for the Giants, you can play Jackson Dart, you can play Wan'Dale Robinson. Theo Johnson at tight end is interesting. And then you've got, I think Devin Singletary is the leader of the timeshare with him and Tyrone Tracy. Probably not great options, but we are in an era of bye weeks with 4 teams out. So you may need to put one of those guys in your lineup. For Chicago, DeAndre Swift is questionable once again. And if he does not play, Kyle Monangai is a must start in pretty much all situations, unless you were just absolutely loaded at the running back and flex positions. DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, even though he's been a little off the last few weeks, and Colston Loveland have some pretty good upside. And then Caleb Williams as a quarterback can be played as well. Joel, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, this one you have some definite interesting facts with the Jackson Dart is QB3, Ryan, in total fantasy points since becoming a starter in week number 4. The Chicago Bears are the most explosive offense in the NFL so far in the season with a 14.1 explosive, easy for me to say, play rate. And yeah, I got to go with the Bears.
Worth mentioning with that Chicago Bears explosivity index offense thing, they've also played the Cowboys and the Bengals, and I think they put up about 90 points combined in those games. That's going to help your bottom line. They haven't been that good in every single game, but those 2 games may skew the average, kind of like that Miami 70-point game a few years ago skewed Denver's average.
Miami could actually have an offense.
Well, I'm talking about the Denver defense in that one because they were very good the rest of that season, but that 70-point anchor from week 3, their defense never quite looked as good as it was. You've got 2 big blow-up weeks from the Bears. All I'm saying is I don't think the offense is as good as the stats are saying right now. The Giants, though, their defense isn't great, so they should be fine. We're both on the Bears.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah, we're both on the Bears, and we move on to a divisional matchup in the AFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars go to Houston to play the Texans.
And not surprisingly, Jaguars are favorites, not by a whole lot, though.
I would expect this to be a point or 2, not much.
Minus just a 1.5. You're pretty close on that one.
Yeah.
Buck 12, not quite a pick 'em, but darn close. And over and under 37.5, they figure there's got to be points coming from somewhere. They're just not sure who.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. No CJ Stroud for the Texans, out with that.
The neck is starting.
Yeah, out still. He's going to miss this one. However, I don't think that affects Nico Collins. I think Dalton Schultz can be interesting. He was decent with Davis Mills last week. You kind of got to look at last week and say
Mills has been surprisingly competent.
And then Woody Marks is a decent option in the backfield. The rest of the wide receivers are a little bit more of a dart throw opportunity. For the Jaguars, Parker Washington is the wide receiver you want. It looks like Brian Thomas Jr. is out. Yep, he is officially out. So it's going to be him and the newly acquired Jacoby Myers running that on the outside. I do think this is going to be a good game.
He's out of Las Vegas. Woohoo!
Yeah, I do think there's going to be a good game for Travis Etienne. Even though Houston's got a good defense, I do think there's going to be some mistakes by the Texans that maybe give them a short field that leads to some points. But the Texans defense is very good. The Jacksonville offense is very dysfunctional, so this game can go either way. Joel, who do you got?
Since you mentioned him, Travis Etienne forced 11 missed tackles on Sunday. That's tied for third best single game mark of 2025. Only Bijan Robinson has topped it. Bijan, come home to fantasy, Bijan.
Yeah, 2 bad weeks for Bijan.
Help us, Bijan. You're our only hope. But in reference to this game, I know the Texans have marginally looked a little bit better. As you mentioned, Jaguars dysfunctional. I think you gotta roll with the Jags. It's just having hard trying to find confidence in the Texans going forward. And did you hear? Jaguars are going to be playing in Orlando in 2027.
Oh yeah, I'm sure with the construction project on the stadium, they'll have to. I'm taking Jacksonville as well, and mostly because it's going to be Davis Mills at quarterback. He is capable of being decent, but they didn't get a touchdown last week with him, and Jacksonville still has a good defense. It's not Denver's defense like Houston faced last week, but I think Houston is going to struggle to score in this one. Jacksonville, I think, has a better offense than Denver, so I expect a similar game to that Denver-Houston game, maybe a touch higher scoring, but again, I think the road team wins, and I think Jacksonville takes in this one. Next up, Buffalo goes to Miami.
Buffalo
To
smacks
play the
Miami
Dolphins.
around.
I mean, let's go to the line. Let's talk about that first.
The line. We got to talk about the 9. We're looking for
I think it's a
the
9.5.
guy on Buffalo. 9.5, just like you said, you nailed it. $6 favorites. That tells you how bad your Dolphins are floundering right now. And 49.5, the points are going to come from somewhere.
Yeah, Buffalo, they've already played once this season in Buffalo. Miami did lose that game 31-21, but it was a much closer game. Buffalo pulled away late in it. For the Dolphins, it's Achane and Waddle. Proud as long as they're healthy the rest of the season, that's it. Check out. Maybe keep an eye for like a Greg Dulcich down the line, but not this week. For the Bills, James Cook, Josh Allen, Dalton Kincaid, all in your lineups, and then you can take the dart throw on Khalil Shakir. Just a really weak wide receiver core. Joel, who do you got?
Yeah, you mentioned him. Greg Dulcich finished second in targets, 5 on the Dolphins in week 9, despite only running 20 for 43, 46.5% of the routes. Yeah, it's just, even if they're in South Beach, we saw how they got absolutely smacked around by the Ravens in South Beach. And I think the Bills are going to do something similar. You got to pick the Bills Mafia. I don't see how you have any hope for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo as well because I'm not insane. I do think it'll be better than the Baltimore game. Baltimore, for whatever reason, has the they have the number of the Dolphins in a really, really depressing, dominating kind of way. Buffalo has the Dolphins number, but in a way that the Dolphins kind of hang around for a little bit and then lose the game. I think it'll be one of those maybe a 30, 35, 21, 24 type of game, but ultimately Buffalo's going to get the win. I think they cover the spread. Next up, a purple battle in the Great White North. Baltimore at Minnesota. This is
Are
one of
you
the interesting games of the week.
are you ready for the lines?
Yeah, let's do that. Why do I think
Ravens
Baltimore is a road favorite? That's
Ravens, not surprisingly, the favorites. All of a sudden, Lamar Jackson back on track. As a matter of fact, Jack, boom, minus 4.5 for the spread. Buck 230, money line, and 48.5. Oh yeah, they know. They know with Lamar Jackson, with Mark Andrews, with Derrick Henry, with Jordan Addison, with Justin Jefferson, they know points are going to be a flowing for this game.
yeah. You have to play Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. I think Mark Andrews, even though he hasn't been on the field as much as you would like, he's been productive a couple times. Definitely in consideration for a tight end start. Zay Flowers, you're gonna get a baseline. He's not a boom player typically, but he's at least on the field. For the Vikings, there's a few more questions. Addison and Jefferson are not those questions. You play both of those guys if you've got them. JJ McCarthy, I mean, if you're a guy that had Jaden Daniels last week and now you're looking for a quarterback this week, he is an option. TJ Hawkinson's been a little bit more hit or miss than you would like, but again, in a situation where you're missing out on a good tight end, maybe you need to put someone like that in your lineup. Then the Aaron Jones is going to be the running back you want from this backfield if you're going to play anybody. The Baltimore defense has been much better of late. This could be a shockingly low scoring game. But Joel, who do you got?
Yeah, and this one is kind of interesting that Derrick Henry, Ryan, is now just 72 yards away from eclipsing his high school career yardage total. You see that total? That's no. That's a lot of yards.
Yeah, I think his senior year he had like 117 touchdowns and 3,400 million yards or something like that. He was a man amongst children in high school. So But it's impressive that he's going to get to those numbers in his NFL career at all, just because it's a lot better competition.
And I know the Vikings have looked better. Jordan Addison coming back from that suspension, giving them some more firepower. J.J. McCartney looking better than Carson Wentz and his shoulder, wincing every game. But you got to pick the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is back. Derrick Henry is on a mission. The Ravens themselves are on a mission. Pretty much it's must win going forward, trying to get back to 500 and then to infinity and the playoffs and beyond. I'm picking the Ravens here. They're on a mission.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens as well. They just look so much better the last couple of weeks, even in the game without Lamar Jackson. He's been pretty good. I think they're going to keep it rolling. I don't have a lot of confidence in J.J. McCarthy. Both the wins they've got with him at the quarterback, he didn't light it up. I think Baltimore's defense gets after him well enough to win this game. And we move on to the game of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Browns and Jets.
Are you being sarcastic about this?
A little bit. The actual game of the week might be the next one we're going to talk about, but we got to get through this turd first.
I'm sure this one will have the Tank Ball graphic when Tree talks about it on Sports Ball. As you look at these lines are about as ugly as the game that is forthcoming. Just 2.5 favorite for the Browns. $1.30 favorites for, once again, the Factory of Sadness. And one of the ugliest over-unders, just 37.5 flying.
Yeah. There was an idea that I heard, I think it was from somebody in the friend group I'm going to go to this trip on with, that said until YouTube TV and ESPN come and settle their differences, the NFL should flex the worst game of the week to Monday Night Football. So this week you would be getting Cleveland and the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. So if you have to miss the game, oh darn, I missed that turd of a game. Next week it would be, I don't know, Houston at Tennessee.
This one was suggested in one of the memes that it needs to be flexed to 2B at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, that's another option as well. For Cleveland is Quinshon Judkins, end of list that are in your lineup. You can look at Njoku or Harold Fannin at the tight end position, but outside of that, it's real ugly. For the Jets, it's Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and maybe Mason Taylor, and check out. I don't trust any quarterback in this game. I don't know if it's Fields. I don't know if it's going to be Tyrod Taylor. Doesn't matter. Cleveland's defense is very, very good. Defense in this one's going to rule the day. Joel, who do you got?
Yeah, this one is a couple of amusing tidbits from this one. There was a clip of Breece Hall running a go-kart around the Jets locker room. You mentioned you don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Jets coach Aaron Glenn said, quote, "We'll have a quarterback," unquote, when asked who would be Week's 10 game against who would start for Week 10 against the Browns. It's called, I'm sure all the coaches are probably sick about fantasy. It's like, I'm not worried about your fantasy team.
Oh, it's not that with Aaron Glenn. He straight up was asked, why aren't you telling us who the starter is? Well, we need competitive advantage. And they went, what competitive advantage? He's like, it's in my head.
Okay.
That's not a competitive advantage. You have two very similar quarterbacks who both suck.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's not like you have Lamar Jackson and then Jared Goff. Like that, you have to prepare a certain way for one and not the other. You prepare for Jared Goff like you do Lamar Jackson, you're going to get torched and vice versa. Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields are very similar. Tyrod's a little more of a pocket passer, but they both suck. So it doesn't really matter.
That stupid commercial that says, if you give 20% effort, that's not going to get you success. And I'm thinking, that reminds me of the Jets.
I mean, that's more than our government's putting in right now.
Yeah.
Hey! I'm definitely not upset with the shutdown with my flight coming up in the next couple of days.
Why would you be concerned about that at all? Sort of like, well,
my final thought is going to briefly skew towards politics for a second. Still in the frame of sports, but we'll get there when we get there. Anyway,
and on the other side of the coin, just one day after the NFL trade deadline passed, Browns' Jerome Ford reposted 2 TikTok videos about being unhappy at work flying.
Yeah, I don't blame him, but nobody else wants him, so...
And has anybody checked in on the Rich Eisen clip kid?
Jets? Oh, did you see the other one? Like, not the I hate this team kid. There was another one that came out where it's a dad talking to his two kids, and the kid was a huge Sauce Gardner fan.
Oh, was this the one where he dumped the jersey?
No, unless it was later. But he's like, "Hey, I have to tell you guys something." What, Daddy? The Jets, the Jets traded Sauce Gardner. Why would they do that? They traded him to the Colts. I don't like the Jets anymore. I'm a Colts fan. And the Rich Eisen, who Rich Eisen is a Jets fan, were like, is this kid wrong or is he ahead of the game? And Rich Eisen's like, no, I think the kid's kind of smart to get out while you still can get out, because when you're older, like, I am and Joel, once you've got your team established, you can't be like, oh, I was a Dolphins fan, but now I hate this team, so I'm going to be a fan of the Bills because they're really good right now. You can't do that. You're just like, everybody already knows, man. But yeah, that was a fun clip this week. Anyways,
Yeah.
Turd Bowl, who do you got?
You're a Buck fan or you're a Dolphin fan for life, pretty much. And I'm going with the Factory of Sadness for this one.
Yeah, I'm on with the Browns as well, which probably means the Jets win, all things considered. But the best player on the field might be Quinshon Judkins already, and the defense for the Browns is just better, and I think that's going to be the difference. And Myles Garrett, yeah, that's true. All right, next up, the actual possible game of the week.
Not sarcastic. Are you ready?
The 7-2 Patriots go to Tampa to face the 6-2 Buccaneers.
Are you ready for the lines from the literal one of the games of the week? New England Patriots, not the favorites. Buck 2.5 favorites. Buck 42, and the points aplenty 48.5, and hopefully the return of Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, Egbuka should be back. We are not going to have Chris Godwin. We're not going to have him until probably the end of this month or early next. Mike Evans looking like he's on that same kind of time frame.
We're not going to have McMillan, like I think, at least for the season. That was
the neck injury.
Yeah, when you like looking at like, ooh, that's not a good update.
Yeah, so Baker, Egbuka, Rachaad White, because you're still not going to have Bucky Irving by all. I haven't seen it official, but he hasn't practiced, so he's not playing. Rachaad White in the backfield, Cade Otton at tight end. You can take a dart throw at Tez Johnson. Yes, Sean Tucker's a dart throw as well. For the Patriots, I think Hunter Henry is a decent play. Drake May has been one of the best quarterbacks in football, even though his wide receiver inconsistent. Keyshawn Boutte looks like he's going to at least miss this game with a hamstring injury. So Demario Douglas or Stephon Diggs, if you're going to go after a wide receiver here, that's who you're going to go after. But this should be one of those games where you look on both sides and go, man, I don't know who's got the better team, but it's going to be an entertaining game, and it's going to be some unsung hero, I think, that makes a difference. But Joel, who do you got?
Well, quickly before I give you my choice, which I'm pretty sure you know who I'm going with, but what do you want to hear about? You want to hear about Trayvon Henderson?
Oh, yeah. TreVeyon Henderson. We didn't mention him. He's getting the start once again because Ramondre Stevenson is out.
Yeah, he has 81% snap rate, 18 touches, and 6 targets, 22%. And the other one, which we'll just toss out before I give you my pick, how about have you heard about Stephon Diggs and his off-the-field action? This is from People Magazine. A paternity test has confirmed that New England Patriots Stephon Diggs is the father of Instagram model Aline and Lopera, Lopera.
You are the father.
Baby girl. Diggs is also expecting a child with his girlfriend, rapper Cardi B.
You are also the father.
And now has 4 kids on the way with 4 different women, Ryan.
Oh, boy. A little bit of rivalry with Tyreek once again.
And my pick?
Yeah.
And my pick, which is less complicated than Stephon Diggs' love life right now. Oh, boy. That's got to be the Bucs, because I know you can make I think it's going to be a close one.
This is a tough game.
You're going to have a nail biter. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. You got 2 quarterbacks who are slinging it. If the Bucs didn't have the bye week, I would be definitely picking the Patriots right here. But I'm picking the Bucs because of the bye week and giving them a little chance to be rested up, mending on the heel, and they need it because they're banged up right now, and they're at home. So it's going to be a nail biter. I think it could go either way, Bucks or Patriots, but I got to go with the home team, and the Bucks just keep proving themselves this year.
Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots. You have the argument of the home team. You have the argument of coming off the bye week, so you have that extra time to prepare. And you say the Bucks are on the mend, but they didn't get really anybody back from injury after the bye week. Evan's still out, Godwin's still out, Irving's still out. The defense is still a little beat up as well. The Patriots are coming in as the more healthy team overall. Where they're injured, guys like Ramondre Stevenson, they have a valuable backup already ready to go. And I think their defense is just a little bit better than Tampa Bay's. I can see this being a 27-28 type of game, and it might be one of those where the team scores and decides they're going to go for two, and they win or lose based on how that play goes. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a very good one to watch. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to see any of it. That's a 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock game. I think it's a 4 o'clock game.
That's when you put a call to the scoreboard operator. Hi, this is Ryan Gilchrist over in seat such and such and such. And yeah, can you put the Bucks game up over on that?
Oh, it is a 1 o'clock game. Okay, it's a 1 o'clock game, so that's good. At least, I mean, we're gonna tailgate. We all have YouTube TV. We can find ways to get this on TV. And one of the guys I'm going with is a Patriots fan, so I got to think they're gonna watch.
Yeah, just tell them, hey, I'm with the Sports Shuffle. What do you mean you've never heard of the Sports Shuffle? Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm talking on behalf of my final thought. We need to get that on the screen stat, but it's a 1 o'clock game, so it's not gonna matter. All right, I'm on New England. You're on Tampa Bay. First disagreement of the week. Next up, Arizona and Seattle. Arizona has put Kyler Murray on the IR. It will be Jacoby Brissett for the foreseeable future.
And Arizona Cardinal fans rejoice throughout the state.
I think if you're looking fantasy-wise, he's not a good play this week. It's going to be Trey McBride. It's going to be Marvin Harrison, end of list. For Seattle, Jackson Smith-Njigba has been fantastic. A.J. Barner as a dart throw tight end. If he's had some injury issues, if he plays, decent opportunity there. And then Torrey Horton's been on a little bit of a breakout. I think it's going to take a week or two for Shaheed to really infiltrate that offense and find his role. So I'm not worried about Horton this week if you need him. Arizona's defense is not great. I think at the running back position, you've got like 3 or 4 guys you can consider between Bam Knight with Amari DeMarcado, with Walker and Charbonnet, all kind of just being in this weird timeshares for their team where neither one seems to be dominating and the offenses are not getting the running game going. Sam Darnold at quarterback, though, is a good play for Seattle if you are in need. What's the line on this one? I know Seattle's favored for sure.
Lines for this one, not surprisingly, Seahawks are the favorite. Touchdown, not a solid one with an extra point, minus 6.5. $3.20 from the money line, and over and under of 44.5, Ryan.
All right, not too bad here. Joel, who do you got in this one?
How about last 2 Cardinals quarterbacks with 200 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and TDs in 3 consecutive games? Carson Palmer, named from the Mist of Time 2015. Jacob Brissett, 2025. And I know Cardinals look good against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. They sort of took them to the Cowboys. Took them to the back of the woodshed, but I got to go with the Seahawks. And Sam Darnold, the quarterback I should have started over Bo Nix in one league this week.
Yeah, it's tough when Bo Nix has been a top 5 quarterback and he's placing a team like the Raiders who just made Jacksonville's offense look competent, but that did not work out. I'm taking Seattle as well. They look like one of the best teams in the NFC. The Cardinals have been close, but their record says they're not that good of a team. 3-5, but I think their combined losses are by 14 points in those 5 games. It'll be close, but Arizona finds a way to steal defeat from the jaws of victory, and I think they do that once again.
Doing that,
yeah, I think they do that once again. Seattle just a little too good in this one. Now, next up, the other 2 teams in the NFC West going head to head is the Rams and the 49ers in San Francisco.
And the lines for 49ers at San Francisco, and not surprisingly, the Rams, Ryan, are the favorites. 4.5 minus $2.30, and over and under 49.5.
I'm taking the under on this one. These 2 teams tend to play a little more defensive games, and it will be Mac Jones once again for the San Francisco 49ers. It's Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and check out for me for the 49ers. If you want to go after Juwan Jennings, more power to you. Not the best play. Rams have a good defense, but he has the ability to break out. For the Rams, Kyron Williams has started getting going. Davante Adams is the goal line threat for this team, so he's a touchdown machine this season. And of course, Puka Nacua. And even though I didn't do it, you need to play Matthew Stafford. He's been fantastic all season long, and he had a really good game the first time they played in San Francisco earlier this season in a win. I wish I'd have played him over Bo Nix, but you can't go back and change it after. I do wish leagues would give you one mulligan where you're like, that was a bad decision. I'm switching this guy out for this guy.
Well, all you need to do is remember the old TV show 7 Days.
Okay.
No, because it was a whole plot where a guy would have stuff happen, then he'd get in a time machine that would take him back 7 days, and then he could change history. So you just go back in the time machine 7 days and start, instead of Bo Nix, start Sam Darnold. And if you tear fabric of space time, yeah.
So be it. Everybody will be fine.
But
Joel, who do you got?
who do I have? Yeah, did you also see the 49ers meme that had IR instead of 49ers as the logo?
Yeah, they keep getting more injuries every week, even though they're already the most injured team in the league.
And 49ers, smoke and mirrors, they somehow win. How do they do it? Because on paper, Rams are the better team. You tend to try to make arguments for the 49ers. You have to roll with the Rams. They're the better team. And Matthew Stafford has just been playing out of his mind. And 49ers, are they ever going to get healthy?
Not this season, probably. Ricky Pearsall out once again. I'm taking the Rams as well. Just the health is the biggest thing.
And for the Rams,
really is.
And 31 teams have had at least one rush of 20-plus yards this season. Only the 49ers, Ryan, have not.
Which is impressive because Christian McCaffrey's been very good for fantasy, but oh well. A lot of that is through the air. Next up, the game I will be attending in person, provided the flight actually occurs, which right now it looks like it's gonna. Detroit at Washington. The line on this is definitely in Detroit's favor, with Jaden Daniels not playing in this game, but not going on IR. I know we kind of glanced over talking about this earlier. No ligament damage in the dislocated elbow, so basically get it back in place, let the pain go away, and he should be good to go. And not going on IR means he might be back before the fantasy football playoffs.
Yeah, because in this one, you're talking Lions and Commanders, and you probably also want to talk what is the line for the game.
Yeah, this would have been a much closer line if Jaden Daniels was playing, I'm sure. I know Detroit's got to be at least a touchdown favorite.
Oh, yeah, because if it's Marcus Mariota or Jaden Daniels, I mean, the difference is just night and day. As you're seeing the Lions as minus 8.5 favorite, so at least it's solid touchdown favorite here. You don't have too many where they are either a touchdown or over a touchdown. I think this is one of the first ones this week. $4.90, almost $5 favorite. That definitely has to be the Marcus Mariota, Jaden Daniels effect. And still an over and under of 48.5 for this game, Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of that you got to expect to be on the Detroit side. You're playing everybody for Detroit. I know Gibbs had a down week, but you're playing him. Montgomery's probably going to get in the end zone in this one. St. Brown, Laporta have been very, very good. And then Jameson Williams has been sneaky at times. And then obviously Jared Goff. If you're playing all the receivers and all that, you probably can play the quarterback. For the Commanders, I think it might be Deebo Samuels and Zach Ertz and then check out. Marcus Mariota maybe is a desperation play that could work out. Again, if you lost Jaden Daniels, you're in a deeper league, you may be limited in your options. He's playable. He's been decent in his starts so far this season. Not ideal. I wish this game had Jaden Daniels. It would be a much more entertaining game. Interesting pick, but that's not the case. So, Joel, who do you got?
The Lions, Ryan, are now 31st in success rate on running plays, 35.2, compared to 8th in success rate on passing plays, 49%, 8.8 of the Detroit rushing plays this season have gained 10-plus yards, 30th in the league. And like you mentioned, Jahmyr Gibbs might have disappointed you a little bit last week, but you're not rage dropping him, and he's definitely a set and forget. Just sometimes bad matchups happen, and I think the Lions get their mojo back here, and they absolutely claw and rip the Commanders apart.
Yeah, there's very few players in the NFL that don't have a down week to some capacity. Even Christian McCaffrey had a down week this year. Bijan's on 2 in a row. Jonathan Taylor last week was bad.
We want you back, Bijan.
I mean, there's a league I have. It's a dynasty league. I've got Achane, I've got Taylor, I've got Gibbs, and I lost last week because
Fantasy 2025.
hey, Taylor, Gibbs, I had Javonte Williams, didn't have a great week. You have enough guys have a down week. It was a close game still. The team's very good. It's one where you play the mean.
Yeah,
It was
it's like
15-3, but I got
that's
two
like
losses last week because hey, it was a
that's
down
like
week.
that's like Bijan letting you down and Kittle letting you down.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to happen very often. The Washington defense is very soft. I'm on Detroit as well. Next up, Pittsburgh at the Los Angeles Chargers. This is, I think, one of the more intriguing games. I'm not saying game of the week quality, but it's an interesting matchup.
And the favorites, not surprisingly, Chargers just by 2.5, so not even a field goal. Buck 48, so not a lot of confidence from Vegas for the Chargers, but that has to be because of number one, the O line, and number two, the constant question of what's going on with their run game
Yeah.
until Marion Hampton gets back, whatever decade that is, and over and under a 44.5.
Yeah, you're probably still 2 to 3 weeks, well, at least 2 weeks from Marion Hampton coming back. They have the Week 12 bye. They're hopeful that they're going to open his window in Week 13. So on the horizon, but it's still going to be Kamani Vidal right now. For Pittsburgh, Jaylen Warren has been a good enough player to start every single week, and DK Metcalf, even though he also on that team that lost that had Taylor, busted last week. Yeah, I had a bad week. He's a good enough player. He's got enough touchdown upside. This should be a higher scoring game, in my opinion. So I think both of those are sure plays. Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith could be interesting at the tight end position as well. And if you're in a pinch, the league, I know I lost Jaden Daniels, and it's a deeper league. Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback for fantasy. I did not drop Jaden Daniels. He went to the IR, or he went to the bench because I have someone else in the IR, one of the two. But he's a good enough play. He's solid. He's been good for fantasy so far this season when you've had to play him. So I think you can play him once again. For the Chargers, you're playing Justin Herbert. You're playing all three of the big wide receivers, Allen, McConkey, and Quentin Johnson. You're playing Rondé Gatson at the tight end position, no doubt about it. At least one of them will have a bad game. It's just too many mouths to feed. But I think this offense with Kamani Vidal, going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. I think three of them are going to be very good. Kamani Vidal is also a decent play at the running back position. So, Joel, this one I think is one we may disagree on. It's a tougher game. I can see going either way, just like Tampa and the Patriots. Who do you got?
You mentioned Gaskin. His pace for 17 games is 1,100 yards,
Yeah.
would place him second all time amongst rookie tight ends behind only
Kyle Pitts.
Brock Bowers.
No, Brock Bowers last year. You're right.
1,194. And on the other flip side of the coin, you have Justin Herbert in 4 games with Joe Alt. Played 10 or fewer snaps this season, 6.5 YPA. Herbert in other 5 games, 8.3 YPA. And I know the Chargers are trying to figure out their run game, but I think they have more targets to pass the ball to than the Steelers do, because the Steelers have DK, and you're trying to figure out which one of the tight ends is going to win the
Any of the three could be good. You never know.
tight end shuffle. And it's just Steelers offense is more about the Steelers defense, not the Steelers offense. And even with as shaky as that Chargers run game is right now, I've got to go with the home team. I'm picking the Chargers.
All right, we do not disagree. I'm taking the Chargers as well. I think that Pittsburgh defense is going to look more like they have the rest of the season than they did last week. The Chargers offense has been explosive enough. If they can get Kamani Vidal going at all, I think it's going to be a Chargers victory quite easily. But a higher scoring, interesting game nonetheless.
I'm amazed you did not go automatic contrarian.
No, again, this is one where if I just want to say, hey, I want to have a little bit of a difference of opinion, I could do that. Pittsburgh absolutely can win this game. It's going to be a good game. I just, for whatever reason, I don't see it happening this time. Next up, Philadelphia and Green Bay on Monday Night Football. Hopefully, if you have YouTube TV, you'll be able to watch it this week. If not, hopefully you've got an antenna in your local
Which comes back? Which gets settled first, YouTube TV dispute or the government shutdown?
God, I hope it's not YouTube TV. I really hope it's not YouTube TV, but we'll talk more about the government shutdown on my phone thoughts. Anyways, Philadelphia and the Packers. What do we got for a line?
For the line, let's go to the lines. That brings up the magic window of the Eagles and Tom Grassie's Green Bay Packers locking up. Not much of a woohoo. You're looking at these numbers. They're trying to figure out who the Packers are too. They're favorites, Ryan, but only by a buck 24,
Hmm.
minus 1.5, and over under of 44.5. So they're trying to figure out what's going on with the Eagles and the whole tush push craziness that you're probably tired of hearing about that too. I would think by this point. And the Packers are trying to figure out what their identity is. Who's their identity? And one of the Packers they've got is, of course, how about Aaron Jones before injuring his shoulder in the seventh possession? 10.9 fantasy, 0.77 snaps, 70% attempts, 68% routes, and 13% targets. Who are you starting from this game, Ryan?
Well, for the Packers, you're going to start Josh Jacobs in the backfield. He has been a touchdown machine all week long, all season long. At the tight end position, it's hard to recommend Musgrave after losing Tucker Kraft, but it is definitely a possibility. Christian Watson seems to be the wide receiver of choice for Jordan Love. I don't think this is going to be a big game for Jordan Love necessarily, but only time will tell. For the Eagles, you're going to play Jalen Hurts because he is Jalen Hurts, and that touch push can always get 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley finally looked like Saquon Barkley in his last game against the Giants coming off the bye week. If that continues, hopefully it will. And then Goddard, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith all are good starting options. Goddard more touchdown dependent than the other two, but I think the Eagles will have to throw in this game to be competitive and possibly win the game. So you've got options. But Joel, who do you got?
Yeah. Oh, and did you see the Romeo Dobbs clip talking about Tucker Kraft is in a better place?
Yeah, he didn't die. He hurt himself.
Yeah, Colt. He's just in the hospital. He's done for the season, dude.
It's like
Yeah,
I can hear him. Dude, I'm right here. I can hear him in my heart. Dude, shut up. I'm still here. Yeah.
I know that's just sort of one thing that you're kind of going like, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're trying to make the case of the Packers. I don't see when they just got stomped by the Panthers, and I know it was a close game. But anytime that you're a team like the Packers and people are talking Super Bowl, or at the very least deep in the playoffs, you do not lose to the Carolina flippin' Panthers. I know the Eagles have looked rough at times, but not as rough as the Packers. As much as I hate it as a Tampa fan, got to pick the Eagles.
I'm taking the Packers in this one. They've been very Jekyll and Hyde. When they look bad, like Cleveland and Carolina, they look bad. Maybe it's a seed team thing, and that doesn't apply here for Philadelphia. Philadelphia's offense has just been very, very inconsistent for the most part all season long. We've seen A.J. Brown go to milk carton. We've seen Dallas Goedert be the leading receiver at times. Devonta Smith's had a couple big games lately, but he was on a milk carton early. This offense can disappear. I think that Packers defense is going to they were good last week in the game against Carolina. I think they're going to be good again and shut down the Eagles offense enough. I think it's going to be a 27-24 type of game. 27 for the Packers seems to be the lucky number, and I'm taking the Packers in this one.
So that's two we disagree on.
Yeah, you've got Tampa and Philly. I've got New England, Green Bay. Everything else we agree on. Worth mentioning, I guess, our overall rankings this season. I'm 91, 43, and 1. Joel, 86, 48, and 1. So I feel like we're both having a pretty good season. Joel picking up a game last week with 11 out of 14 correct. I had 10 out of 14. Really,
Are you ahead or am I ahead?
I'm ahead, but I'm ahead because, I went 13 out of the first 2 weeks. Both 13, you went 12. And then we had that one down week where I was 7 wins and you had 4. That's where that difference really is. It's been very even. It's been a good year for picks so far. There was also a 10-7 week in week number 3. So I kind of got a nice cushion early on. You're starting to reel it back in. But let's go to final thoughts. We'll start with Joel.
And I have just 3 short, quick ones so you can get to your long one. Most wide receiver goal line TDs this season. Devontae Adams, 4. Number 2, Rashee Rice, 3, and just 2.5 flipping
He's been great.
games. The Bengals, Ryan, final thought number 2. The Bengals are the first team since the 1960s to score 38 points in back-to-back games and lose both games. They need the whammy.
The Bengals also, I think, already have set the record for most losses in a season with 30 plus points, and we're only halfway through it. The old record was the Chiefs with 4, I think like 15 years ago. They had it broken before last week's game and then added to it with the loss of the Bears.
And the final one to close for me on a funny note, where we started on a very sad note. For a famous TV show, Ryan, a detective tried to find someone in Japan who didn't know who Shohei Ohtani was. And it took, are you ready for how many times in attempts?
Oh, this is going to be crazy high or crazy low.
7,524 attempts. And those are my final thoughts.
If I wouldn't have went crazy high, I wouldn't have went crazy high enough. All right. My final thought is the game this weekend in Washington with the Detroit Lions. We've already talked that it's a cursed trip. We always curse the quarterback, it seems like, but that's not the problem. With the government shutdown, they're limiting flights into the 30 biggest airports in the country, which I'm flying into Baltimore, Washington International. That is one of those airports. So we're hopeful that we can get in. I was able to check in, and last I've seen, still have a flight for tomorrow morning.
And a flight home.
Hey! All right. Hold on. We're reaching out to confirm that your Southwest flight is not impacted. So we're going to get there just fine. So, okay. A little less angry. But it was reported, I guess, on the Pat McAfee show that the president is going to be attending the game in Washington this week against the Detroit Lions. I know Joel and I have differentiating views on the president, and maybe you can tell which one is which. We try not to let that be super obvious, but for either side of this, I am fascinated to see the reaction from the crowd, both because, one, it's in Washington. Washington is more of a blue city. You would think they'd be a little more upset, but the NFL is typically a more right-leaning fan base.
I think it's going to be mixed.
It'll be mixed, but as to what extent? Is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be 80-20 one way or the other? I'm fascinated because they're going to put him on the big screen at some point. He's the president. Whether you like him or hate him, he's one of the most famous people on the planet. Probably takes more than 7,000 people before you find someone who doesn't know who Donald Trump is. So, hey, Taylor Swift goes on the Jumbotron. He's going to go on the Jumbotron. I'm fascinated to see what that reaction is. It is Veterans Day weekend, so you're going to be honoring the troops, which is always a very cool experience. The solemn moment of silence for Neyland, that's going to be really, really weird. And when I said, you were like, oh, call up somebody just to be like, yeah, this is Ryan. I'm calling on behalf of Trump. He wants the Patriots and Bucks game on the Jumbotron, please. This one is going to be a turd. But yeah, I'm fascinated to see what that reaction is. I'm not going to say which way.
Under investigation for impersonating somebody from the White House.
Well, I'm not going to say which way I will or will not be participating in the reaction because that's not important. And like I said, Joel and I have differentiating views. We've done this show for years. We get along just fine. Be rational people.
We try to do a prime directive when it comes to politics, just to try to tune out the noise.
I'm fascinated to see how that reaction is going to be, especially in the midst of the shutdown in the DC area. It's going to be fascinating to me as just someone who's curious about the human condition and where the viewpoint is. Because you always hear, if you follow any kind of politics, you hear one side saying, polls say we're great. The other side, the polls say you suck. I'm fascinated to see in the moment what it is.
I will say one thing when it comes to politics. Let's cut the crap, open up the freaking government, do your jobs. And I also think it is an absolute crime that here you have all these civil servants, whether you're the FAA employees, the air traffic controllers, the military, all the troops, everybody who has anything to do, and everybody in the Congress and the Senate still get their paychecks. Granted, I don't think they're going to go hungry. They don't get their paychecks because there's actually something in the Constitution that says they still get paid. And I think if you have a government shutdown, the people in the Congress and the Senate should be included, and they should get paid either, just because that makes sense, sort of what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I don't think that's either party, either way, left or right. I think that's common sense.
Yeah, if you're going to be the reason everybody else isn't getting paid, you don't deserve to get paid. I think it was Rick Scott, which again, depending on where you view, Rick Scott's got something saying like, "Look, we don't get paid. We shouldn't be getting paid. Let's make it so if this happens again, we don't get paid next time."
'Cause that'll motivate their butts to get the government open again,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
everything will be
when these
normal,
guys can invest and
whatever
just
normal is.
rake in money, they're not hurting. I know the FFA people, the security people at the airports, they're not getting paid, and I'm expecting them to be very unhappy tomorrow. And hopefully on Monday when I'm supposed to fly back, hopefully I'll get a flight that is confirmed once again. But yeah, that actually just was found out. So I definitely have a flight. That's good. That's good news. So we'll see how long it takes for the plane to actually leave if it's going to be on time. Fortunately, morning flights are more likely. But yeah, we're gonna have a good time in Washington. And yeah, like I said, I'm really fascinated because you hear both sides say
Don't
this is
watch
great,
any
this is
airport
terrible.
movies.
Oh, I never do. But it's one of those things you hear both sides say this side sucks, this side's great, and they point at the other one and say they're garbage. I'm interested to see in the moment what that reaction is. But anyways, that's my final thought. And looking forward to a good weekend with some friends, and then hopefully a trip back home that is not super delayed.
And go Bucks, and may all your fantasy teams, unless you're playing me, not suck.
Yeah. And with that, I'm Flying Ryan Gilchrist along with, as always.
Temple Motor Mount overall.
And we'll be back next week for the normal show, whatever that is. And with that, we go.